everyone, and welcome to another episode of Soccer Stories. The atmosphere in Switzerland, in contrast to the passion at the enormous Maracana 4 years ago, was telling. The Swiss had been largely unaffected by the World War II, but still it did seem strange that such a small country could host of what was turning out to be the single largest sporting spectacle of the world. Uruguay, as defending champion, was there to keep its record of winning the World Cup in every attempt intact, but it was not among the favourites this time around. That tag obviously was pinned on Hungary, which through the intervening period between 1950 and 54 had emerged such a dominant force, winning every title in its stride. The Hungarian side, which through time had come to be called the Magical Magyars, having such a classy players like the legendary Ferenc Puskás, Sándor Kocsis, Zoltán Csibor among its rank, was thereby the team to beat in everyone's book. The format once again was not flawless, there being a lot of confusion in the prescribed manner through which the 16 teams in the fray got into the knockout phase. Yet, there was no shortage of fun and frolic, and then again there were goals galore as the tournament would achieve the highest scoring average ever in the World Cup with an astonishing 5.38 goals per match. High scoring matches thus were a feature of the initial group phase as Hungary, West Germany, Austria, Uruguay, Brazil, Switzerland, England and Yugoslavia motored their way down to the quarter-finals. The Swiss looked to be good nick as they took a comfortable lead in the first quarter-final, only to lose to Austria, which rebounded well to win 7-5 in what remains till date the match with the most goals in the World Cup. The Germans polished off Yugoslavia 2-0 and so did Uruguay to England 4-2. There was quite a drama in the last quarter between Hungary and Brazil as the match pettered out of control of the referee, who had to send off 3 South American players and at times looked as if it was a free-for-all. Hungary, however, emerged unscathed from this Battle of Bern, only to run into Uruguay, which again proved for it a tough customer. Yet, the Hungarian juggernaut was not to be stopped as it finished with a 4-2 win, while the Germans in the second semi-final hammered Austria 6-1 for an easy win. Puskás, who had missed many of the matches in the interim, was on hand for the Hungarians in the final. With the match beamed live, this being the first World Cup match to have a live telecast, the pundits seemed to be running to the bank as the Hungarians took a solid 2-0 lead. The strikes by Puskás and Csibor, however, did in no way send the Germans to any sort of panic. With a methodical approach, they just stood the ground, though often getting the ball into the rival half was by itself a Herculean task. Yet the Germans rifled one back when Max Morlock turned opportunistic in the 18th minute. Helmut Rahn found parity to get his team back into the encounter. The Hungarians did try out everything in their book to get back into the lead, but was hardly successful as chances went a-begging. Finally, the match played at a frenetic and jaw-dropping pace in pouring rain had a tremendous finish when Rahn again came to the rescue of the Germans before they ran out of worthy winners. Ironically, the Hungarians perhaps would have paid a hefty price for their overconfidence. But having won against Germans 8-3 in the league phase, it was only natural that Hungarian side had its chin up before the Germans came galloping for a mountain-sized upset. The match per se was later to be dubbed as the Miracle of Bern, as the football world absorbed a new lesson: never ever write off the Germans. Notably, the match, as was such in later days, made out into a film by the same name and for sure was a box office hit. That's all for today. Stay tuned to Striking Seconds for more soccer stories. Hasta la vista.